Welcome to Motor Brigade of India. Namaskar, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal. We are back again with the new issue on GST. We all know, like on 30th June, Government of India on the midnight of 30th June, that is on 1st July at about 12 a.m. in the morning, Mr. Modi has introduced a new bill on making GST. GST is goods and services taxes. We all know that. Today we are at one of the surgical and medical shop. Okay, that's based out in Hyderabad on Nampally Station Road. There are a lot of shops here, and all these shops are basically they're selling medical and surgical equipment since many years. So today we'll understand from their own mouth like what is the impact of new GST rules which has come, new taxes which has come in terms of medical equipments. So we have also come to know, like, that GST, before there was no taxes on a lot of disabled equipments. For people who are disabled, they're using like equipment like brailles, typewriter. When you talk about crutches, then wheelchairs, they were all exempted before of the taxes. Now we'll talk about different medical equipments from the mouth of Mr. Mohsin, and we are at the Mohsin Surgical Equipments. Mr. Mohsin भाई, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम।
आप बताइए कि अभी जो नया रूल आया है GST का, नए टैक्सेस आए हैं, डिजेबल टैक्सेस भी इंक्लूड हो चुके हैं इसमें, तो उसके लिए आप कुछ बताइए कि क्या क्या इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है इस पे एग्जैक्टली कॉमन पर्सन पे। इफ़ यू सी लाइक ऑलमोस्ट एक 70 million to 100 million people are disabled in India, जिसमें से 80% poor लोग हैं। तो इस पे कैसा एक इम्पैक्ट आ सकता है, बता सकते हैं?
Well, it is a very good move by the government of India, a good initiative though, but post demonetization, the implementation of GST has definitely come as a setback for us. Had there been some time implementing, things would have been more different, but this bill was also proposed a couple of years back by the Congress government. If it was imposed, then we will have had to accept the same even then or even today. But the impact is so bad right now is because the disabled products, earlier the tax on the disabled products was 0%. Unlike the crutches, or you say the walking sticks or the commute chairs, the many other products with the wheelchairs, these products are specialized for disabled people. Now, the taxes from 0% have been increased to 5%, and the products on which the taxes were 5%, they have been increased to 12%.
Okay, let's start with the disabled items. What are the disabled items which were exempted before under any tax, which were immune to any taxes? Now they have been included in a tax bracket. So what are the equipments or the instruments or the products? Like for example, you say the wheelchair.
Like example, if you have a look at the wheelchair,
okay.
This wheelchair earlier was exempted under any tax.
Okay.
Even the import duty was 0%.
Okay.
Now under the GST rule, the tax implemented is 5%.
Okay.
Now if you take a walking stick, this is a tripod. Okay, a tripod is basically again used by a person who is disabled, either disabled permanently or disabled temporarily. In this the tax was 0.
Okay.
Now the new tax imposed is 5%. Okay. If you take the auxiliary crutches, a crutch is basically used mostly by a person who is physically challenged.
Correct.
If you impose a tax of 5% on this, it is definitely going to affect the person who is using it. Who is the end user? The end user, a person who is physically challenged, disabled, temporarily or permanently. So I think it's going to be a burden. Well, the government, it's a great initiative that they've imposed a GST, so has to have a flat tax. But keeping couple of products, certain products, they should have considered these products at least, so that they don't affect them.
Correct. So if you see GST, like almost it was started. This initiative was started almost 15 to 16 years back. Now the Modi government has started this, and they have implemented this on 1st of July. At what cost? But at what cost they are affecting? Is it affecting the well-being of the community? If you see, the well-beingness is considered to be a moral responsibility of any government which runs the country. Now, if you see, India being the leading diabetic country in the world, diabetic capital of the world. The diabetic instruments, like which is commonly used by a lot of people, like even diabetic instruments, like small instrument like glucometer is been taxed. So we'll understand from him also, like what are the percentage of tax which has been increased on such other items other than the disabled people items. So, like if you see glucometer,
Yeah.
what is the percentage of tax which has been increased? Before, what was the percentage in this, and now what is the percentage?
If you just have a look at a glucometer, the glucometer, the earlier tax was 5%.
Okay.
Now the tax on a glucometer has been increased from 5 to 12%.
Okay.
It is definitely an additional burden for a diabetic person who is affected by diabetes, and this is a very regular product, and we sell a lot of diabetes machines. Now, selling diabetes machine is not the criteria. The consumables. When it comes to the diabetes strips, the glucometer strips, these strips have also been taxed as 12%. If the tax is 12% on the meter, it is a one-time use, it is quite understandable. But for the diabetic strips, which a person will have to use it over a period of time, many people use it every day, many people use it twice a day or thrice a day also. It becomes an additional burden, and I think it is going to be a difficulty for them, managing their diabetes now.
Okay. So now, for example, what was the previous price for the same glucometer? Can you just how it will impact? Can you just explain in detail?
For example, if you take the case of unlike any glucometer, okay, suppose if I'm buying for 1,000 rupees, 5% tax, I pay 5% tax and buy it for 1,050 rupees. And before the GST, I purchase it for 1,050, I sell it for 1,250 or 1,300 rupees for a margin of 200 or 300 rupees. Now I'll buy it for 1,000 rupees. 12% GST is 120 rupees. That means my purchase is 1,120 rupees. Now if I want to sell it, I will not sell it for 1250. I'll definitely want to sell it for 1350 if I maintain my same old profit margin of 250 rupees or 300 rupees. That means the total overall impact is not 12%. The impact is, in terms of money, it is 200 or 300 rupees more, So that is where it is taxing more.
Okay, so that is one thing. Even on thermometer, if you see,
18%.
which is increased to 18%.
Yeah.
So it was before, how many percent was there?
Before it was 5%.
Okay.
Now it has been increased to 18%.
Okay.
The thermometer can be, considered as a bread and butter of any sick person. This is a must-have in every house and every hospital and every clinic. Now, if the tax is increased from 5 to 18%, then this becomes suicidal for, I think the government should consider a couple of products, where if they think it is feasible, they should roll back. If not for these products, at least for those products where, people are physically challenged and most of them are very poor, they can't afford, Many people come to us and ask, sir, if you have a used wheelchair, you have a used auxiliary crutch or a used tripod or a quadripod, that shows they cannot afford, they cannot buy. If they cannot afford and if they cannot buy, the government should at least, look into this matter. A couple of other physically challenged associations, they have made a representation to the government of India, asking them and requesting them to consider to roll back the duties at least on physically challenged products.
Yeah, very good. So this is what as per Mr. Mohsin, he runs this showroom here, a surgical and medical showroom at Nampally Road in Hyderabad. So this is what he's saying. He's saying most of the things which are included in the tax bracket has to be rolled back. And the government has to consider this, and at the same time the government has to understand, these items, there are a lot of items, okay, it's fine, they have added taxes to it, but not at least on the items which are used by the disabled people, and most of the disabled people who are there in India are really poor. So it is for the government to take a decision on this, and it is for the state government also to interfere, and a lot of organizations are already started submitting their appeals to the government. A lot of associations have also met the concerned GST departments, and we request the government of under Mr. Respected Modi to reconsider this tax GST, especially on the medical items, so that in a life of many people can become reasonably meaningful. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again on Moral Bigger of India very soon. Thank you so much.